You ever wonder about those ancient myths? You know, the stories of gods falling from the sky, of powerful beings coming down to earth? What if they're not just separate stories? What if they're all pieces of one single epic narrative that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Well, today we're going to try and connect those dots. We're diving into a story that's pieced together from some really old, non-canonical texts. It's a story that some people believe is the key, the one thread that ties together forbidden knowledge, secret societies, and maybe even the power structures of our world today. So the whole thing kicks off with this idea of forbidden knowledge. Just imagine. Secrets from the heavens, powerful arts, and cosmic truths handed down to early humans. An act that would completely change our path forever. Then you get these recurring myths about hybrid children. And no, we're not talking about your standard demigods like Hercules. This story talks about something else, a powerful race of giants, born from the union of these celestial beings and human women. A whole new lineage walking the earth. And right here is where it starts to get really wild. These ancient texts claim that those hybrid bloodlines, well, they didn't just disappear. The story goes that they survived, forming secret bloodlines, elite families who've supposedly been pulling the strings from the shadows for thousands of years. And what's the endgame? Well, all of it, the knowledge, the offspring, the bloodlines, is supposedly working towards one massive goal, a new world order, a return to a mythical golden age when these beings were in charge. So what if it's all connected? The forbidden knowledge, the giants, the secret societies, all one epic tale? To really get this, we have to go back to the source. We need to look at these ancient texts that talk about a very specific group of celestial beings. They were known as the Grigori. The name Grigori literally translates to the Watchers, and according to these texts, that was their only job, to watch over humanity. They had one single, unbreakable rule: do not interfere. And just so we're clear, we're not talking about a handful of angels here. The ancient book of 2 Enoch says there were 200 myriads of them. In today's numbers, that is 2 million. 2 million of these beings. So you gotta understand, they were meant to be our silent guardians, our protectors. But according to these old stories, that sacred duty was about to be betrayed in the biggest way you can possibly imagine. And this brings us to the moment where everything went sideways. The absolute heart of the Watcher's story is a rebellion, a single, deliberate choice that would, according to these texts, change humanity's destiny for good. And the story is super specific about how this all went down. This wasn't an accident. A group of 200 of their leaders came down to earth on Mount Hermon, and there, they made a pact, a binding oath that they were all in this together. They were going to take human wives, have kids, and teach humanity all the secrets of heaven. And their children? They became known as the Nephilim. The texts call them a race of powerful, immortal giants who carried sacred blood, but they weren't saviors. No, the story says they filled the entire earth with violence and chaos. And just look at the kind of knowledge they shared. This wasn't about lifting humanity up. It was about giving them power. They taught metallurgy to make weapons for war. They revealed sorcery and enchantments. They even taught the arts of cosmetics and deception. But wait, the plot thickens, because even inside this rebellion, there was a major split. The Watchers weren't all on the same page. They broke off into 2 rival factions with totally different plans. So you had these 2 camps. On one side, you've got the Shemiaza faction. They were all about stealth, working from the shadows, symbolized by that 2-headed eagle. Their whole game was quiet control through secret networks. But on the other side, you had the Azazel faction. They were all about open war. Their goal? Tear society down and set themselves up as gods on earth, symbolized by that single eagle of pure force. So you might be asking, how do 2 rival factions get a single boss? Well, it looks like the story itself evolved over time. Later accounts start to merge the whole rebellion under one new leader, Satanael. See that ale at the end of his name? That marks his angelic status. The texts claim it was later stripped from him, leaving just Satan. A pretty masterful way to weave the Watchers' rebellion into that more familiar story of the original fallen angel. Okay, so this is where we bring it all home. How does this wild, ancient story of an angelic rebellion actually connect to our world today? Well, according to these interpretations, this legacy isn't ancient history at all. It's all around us. And here is where the story comes full circle. These sources claim that the Watchers' Rebellion is the origin story for secret societies aiming for a new world order. They say that powerful symbols, like the all-seeing eye, represent this coming kingdom, literally being watched over by its ancient founders. And they even point to specific families in history, the so-called black nobility of Europe, as the supposed descendants of these hybrid bloodlines, continuing the work from behind the curtain. So in the end, these texts don't present this as just a myth. They present it as the secret origin of a cosmic war that they claim is still being fought today. A battle between those who want to rule from the shadows and those who would resist. And that leaves us with the big question. Is this just an ancient story, a hidden chapter of our own history, or is it a warning for what's still to come?